Tapes of Trepidation presents the Campfire Sessions. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Campfire Sessions, here on Tapes of Trepidation. I'm so happy you've come back to join me by the campfire as more creepy stories are shared. Well, here we are, friends, the final edition of the Campfire Sessions. And what a night to go out on. Look how gorgeous and bright the moon is. We barely need the campfire for light tonight. You know, some say that moonlight is thought to transform some people into strange creatures to drive others mad. Does the moon actually possess such strange powers? Or is it all just lunacy? Tonight, we explore this thought with 3 stories that share just what the moon brings. Starting with the tale of one man's experience with the last full moon. On the night of the last full moon, I had the craziest dream. At least, I tell myself that's what it was. I was a beast. I was massive. I had incredible strength and a ferocious appetite. Anything within my path that was smaller than I was would become prey. I could no longer speak, but my threats escaped in menacing growls. I felt powerful. I felt free. I felt untamed. The feeling was so liberating and amazing. I loved every minute of it. I was racing through the moonlight. Nothing could stop me. I had a silver coat of fur covering my beastly form. I threw my head back and released a savage howl. All through that night, I lived a second life. For a moment, I even fought with another of my kind. And even though it was only in playful sport, it was rather painful when she sunk her teeth into my leg. For the rest of that night, I ran alongside my kin, feeling an innocent joy that I hadn't felt since I was a small child. Then, I realized the sun was coming up. From then on, everything was getting a little fuzzy. An overwhelming sense of panic overcame me and I fled. I didn't know for sure where I was going, but the others seemed to have the same feeling. We were all running back to wherever we came from, scattering like dust in a storm. Shortly after, I woke up. A sharp sting was in my leg. She must have bitten me pretty hard. The sunlight invasively beamed through the window, and when I opened my eyes, I couldn't help but gasp. Silver hairs were retracting into my flesh, vanishing under my skin. And I'm absolutely positive, that time, I was awake. Horror narrator and friend of the show, Dr. Torment, joins us by the campfire to share the terrifying story written by H.P. Lovecraft, What the Moon Brings.
I hate the moon. I am afraid of it, for when it shines on certain scenes familiar and loved, it sometimes makes them unfamiliar and hideous. It was in the spectral summer when the moon shone down on the old garden where I wandered, The spectral summer of narcotic flowers and humid seas of foliage that bring wild and many-colored dreams. And as I walked by the shallow crystal stream, I saw unwonted ripples tipped with yellow light, as if those placid waters were drawn on in resistless currents to strange oceans that are not in the world. Silent and sparkling, bright and baleful, those moon-cursed waters hurried I knew not whither, whilst from the embowered banks white lotus blossoms fluttered one by one in the opiate night wind and dropped despairingly into the stream, swirling away horribly under the arched carven bridge and staring back with the sinister resignation of calm dead faces. And as I ran along the shore, crushing sleeping flowers with heedless feet and maddened ever by the fear of unknown things and the lure of dead faces, I saw that the garden had no end under that moon. For where by day the walls were, there stretched now only new vistas of trees and paths, flowers and shrubs, stone idols and pagodas, and bendings of the yellow-litten stream past grassy banks and under grotesque bridges of marble. And the lips of the dead lotos faces whispered sadly and bade me follow, nor did I cease my steps till the stream became a river and joined amidst marshes of swaying reeds and beaches of gleaming sand the shore of a vast and nameless sea. Upon that sea the hateful moon shone, and over its unvocal waves weird perfumes breathed. And as I saw therein the lotos faces vanish, I longed for nets that I might capture them and learn from them the secrets which the moon had brought upon the night. But when that moon went over the west, and the still tide ebbed from the sullen shore, I saw in that light old spires that the waves almost uncovered, and white columns gay with festoons of green seaweed. And knowing that to this sunken place all the dead had come, I trembled and did not wish again to speak with the lotos faces. Yet, when I saw afar out in the sea a black condor descend from the sky to seek rest on a vast reef, I would fain have questioned him and asked him of those whom I had known when they were alive. This I would have asked him had he not been so far away. But he was very far, and could not be seen at all when he drew nigh that gigantic reef. So I watched the tide go out under that sinking moon, and saw gleaming the spires, the towers, and the roofs of that dead, dripping city. And as I watched, my nostrils tried to close against the perfume-conquering stench of the world's dead. For truly, in this unplaced and forgotten spot had all the flesh of the churchyard gathered, puffy sea worms to gnaw and glut upon. Over these horrors, the evil moon now hung very low, but the puffy worms of the sea need no moon to feed by. And as I watched the ripples that told of the writhing of the worms beneath, I felt a new chill from afar, out whither the condor had flown, as if my flesh had caught a horror before my eyes had seen it. Nor had my flesh trembled without cause, for when I raised my eyes, I saw that the waters had ebbed very low, shewing most of the vast reef whose rim I'd seen before. And when I saw that the reef was but the black basalt crown of a shocking acorn, whose monstrous forehead now shone in the dim moonlight, and whose vile hooves must pour their hellish ooze miles below, I shrieked and shrieked lest the hidden face rise above the waters, and lest the hidden eyes look at me after the slinking away of that leering and treacherous yellow moon. And to escape this relentless thing, I plunged gladly and unhesitantly into the stinking shallows where amidst weedy walls and sunken streets fat sea worms feast upon the world's dead.
Our final tale this evening is a story of loss, childhood, strange beings, and beautiful silver light. This is the story of the Moonlight people. We never visited my grandmother much. She lived several states away, in a secluded region, and our extended family was kind of bad at keeping in touch with each other. Ironically, her death provided a great opportunity for us to all see each other. Her children and other close relatives all came in for the funeral, and to settle how the estate would be disposed of. We had a lot of fun playing together, exploring the house and the surrounding land while our parents sorted through all Grandma's stuff, separating it based on what they would throw away, what they would sell at the estate sale, and what they would keep for themselves. The house, being large and old, was a perfect place to play hide and seek and other games. We also spent some time helping the adults clean the place out. There were a lot of interesting things to find. Old books, magazines, vinyl records, trinkets, and knickknacks collected over decades. But perhaps the most interesting items were those left by other children. Grandma often hosted other families who were traveling through the area, since it was so remote from the nearest town. We found toys, clothing items, and drawings by these visiting kids. The most interesting find to me was one of these drawings. It was just some black crayon stick figures drawn on pink construction paper. Some of the figures had what looked like crude clothing items, but it was hard to tell. At the top of the page, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Moonlight people." I don't know why I was so drawn to this piece. It was just a basic child's artwork. I took it with me and pondered over it before going to bed. I dreamed of the Moonlight people, almost shapeless figures, dancing around, making strange, high-pitched vocal noises. When I woke up, it took me a few moments to remember I was in a strange bed. And in the interim, I was disoriented. Once I got my bearings, I got up to use the bathroom, and then spent some time reading a book by the light of the lamp on my nightstand. After a few short chapters, I went to look out the bedroom window. I looked down at the garden, which consisted of some flower beds, statues, a trellis, and a sundial as the centerpiece, which rested on top of a stone patio. The light of the moon cast shadows over the patio, creating a dappling effect, making the garden appear alive and animated. I gazed on with relaxed fascination. It was a beautiful and calming picture. It was a beautiful and calming picture. I don't know how long I'd been looking when I noticed the figures. At first, they appeared as black dots moving around the patio. As they came into focus, I saw tiny arms and legs, heads, and what looked like hats and pieces of clothing. I don't know how I saw so much detail from the second floor, but I realized I was looking at the beings from the Moonlight people drawing. They danced in a circle around the sundial, sometimes breaking off to dance in pairs or alone before forming back up. I couldn't tell if the circle was moving clockwise or counterclockwise. It was definitely moving in some direction. But at the same time, the figures seemed to paradoxically stay in one spot. Like an animation of a crowd whose members were made to twitch in a certain way to give the illusion of group movement. It was mesmerizing. I stared in fascination a while longer. I didn't notice the approaching storm until it arrived. A fierce wind started blowing, and the clouds blocked out the moon. As the rain came down, I saw the little figures scattering, ducking under garden plants and disappearing from view. I know for certain that this experience was not a dream. That said, my rational adult brain assures me that it had to be some kind of childhood fantasy or illusion. And yet, part of me still believes the experience was real. I should know better, and I've never considered myself to be superstitious. But I still wonder from time to time about those little Moonlight people. Sometimes I even consider returning to the house to investigate, though I have no idea who owns it. And I still have the drawing. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for the 8th and final edition of the Campfire Sessions, here on Tapes of Trepidation. I hope you had as much fun as I did sitting around the campfire while these stories were shared. The stories featured on this edition were Full Moon, written by Shinigami.Eyes, and originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. What the Moon Brings, written by H.P. Lovecraft, and was sourced from a wiki source via the Creepypasta Wiki. Story is available under public domain. Guest narration for this story was by my friend, Dr. Torment. Be sure to check out his fantastic YouTube channel for tons of fantastic, scary content. You'll find a link in the show notes. Moonlight People was written by HopelessNightOwl and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. The Tapes of Trepidation theme and the wonderful acoustic version you're currently hearing was written and performed by JM Scherf. If you need any custom music or stock music done, JM is the man and is awesome to work with. You'll find a link to his content and the way to contact him in the show notes. A big shout out again to JM for creating such an awesome and unique piece of music for the Campfire Sessions. All logos, banners, overlays, including the brand new Campfire Sessions overlay, were done by the incredible Jason Rees from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you need any kind of graphic design work done, Jason is your guy. You'll find a link to contact him in the show notes. Jason is one of the best humans you'll ever come across, and I'm proud to call him my friend. Contact him today. If you enjoyed what you heard, consider subscribing, leaving a rating, and following Tapes of Trepidation on social media. You can find a link tree in the show notes. And while you're there, why not check out the other content we have to offer here on Tapes of Trepidation? There's nearly 70 unique episodes, featuring lots of fantastic stories. Normally on the show, I do things a little differently, with unique music and even sound design for each episode. So check it out. If you enjoyed the Campfire Sessions, I think you'll really enjoy the podcast. And if you feel like supporting the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, a weekly shout-out, and more at higher tiers. So come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. Just like my current patrons, Doozer Pin Dan, Ronan Komori, Eric Phones, Patrick Stewart, Madam Strangeways, Dr. Torment, Tori, and Queen Cam. Thank you all so much for the support. I couldn't do this without you. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons by Share Alike license. Licensing information can be found in the show notes. And now, my friend, it's time for us to get back to normal, if you can truly call it that, here on Tapes of Trepidation. But I hope you had as much fun as I did, hanging out with my friends and I by the campfire, sharing all these wonderful, spooky stories. A big thank you again to all my guests. This wouldn't have been the same without you all. Alright, you'd best get going as I'm about to douse the fire. And who knows, maybe there's something out there that the fire is currently keeping away.